call the meeting. We'll call the meeting of the Evaluation Committee for the Affordable Housing Development on Orange Street, Vesper Lane, and Bartlett Road to order. We'll do roll call. Chantal Blois Murphy.
Here.
Christy Farentella.
Here.
Bernie Husser.
Here.
Tracy McDonald. Is here. Don Hill Holgate.
Here.
Abby DeMolina.
Here.
Rick Sears.
Here.
Okay. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. I don't know if we need an approval of the agenda. Is there any public comment from anyone? There's no public here, so we'll move on to the main purpose of this meeting. Was just, I know a couple people have already done the evaluation. I think everybody finally signed the agreement. Was really to just kind of go through the process for the people that have already looked at it. If they have any information as they were evaluating that they thought they might need or like to see, we could put it together today and we can send an email off to the contact and request that additional information. I will note one thing that I think we need is a better pro forma, 20-year pro forma for each project, because Christy and I, to let the committee know, have made arrangements for Hilltop Securities to analyze their pro formas and the financials, because I don't know if everybody's gotten into it, but they have a very large financial ask from the town. And so we've engaged Hilltop to do an analysis of the viability of each of the projects and the amounts of the overall amount that they had put together and requested. So I just wanted to kind of give everybody an update on how this process works, because it is a little bit different than most procurement processes that we go through. This was done under Chapter 30, Section 16, which is the disposition of real estate through either a sale or a lease, which it can be a long-term development agreement like we're proposing here. Most procurements are not open to public inspection prior to the award and finalization of any of the agreements. However, with the disposition of real property, in this case, the lease, this is completely open to public inspection from day one. So the proposal that was submitted is actually available to any member of the public who wants to see it. We are obligated to do our review of the proposal and our comments on the evaluative criteria in a public forum, which at the next meeting that I suspect that the proposal will be there. We are allowed to ask some questions, and this entire process is public and up until the award and the recommendation to the select board. So it is a little bit different than most of the processes. Any other RFP is done outside of public view and then is available only upon recommendation and award of the contract. So there is a kind of an interesting distinction for us in this. So I want to open it up to questions. If anybody has any questions about the specific process, if they've read anything and have questions or they want additional information, we'll take it. Christy and I will take it down, and then we'll work with the proposer to get that information for when we. And the other thing I would like to do here is to set the date of the next meeting when we can hopefully start the evaluation process. So with that, I'll turn it over and open it up to anyone on the committee that has any questions or comments. Wow, don't everybody jump at once.
Brian, this is Bernie. I'll go ahead and open up. So I understood your comment on the the pro formas with respect to having Hilltop do a better analysis, and I agree with that. There's a lot of detail that's lacking in the financial information that they provide, and and I understand that as a first pass on a proposal. But I think in order to really identify this, just as you pointed out, the amount of money that they're requesting from the town at this point in time is really, really high. And so I think we need to understand a lot better what their proposals, the assumptions in their proposals, and give us the real, the detail so that we can evaluate it. So I think I've got actually kind of a bunch of things potentially that I would ask for. Maybe easier to put that in an email to you, but I can certainly walk you through some of these at this point
Yeah,
so
I
it's
mean,
on the
it's
record.
a lot of it probably are is in a line with everything we've gone through with the other ones that we've done together, Bernie. But if you want to send it, if it's a long list, if you want to send it, I figured a lot of the stuff that we're going to ask them to provide additional information relative to the evaluative criteria is all going to be on the financial side because I think that's where it was most lacking in the
Yes,
proposal as I scanned through it. So it
yes,
just for the committee,
yeah.
everybody on the committee, Bernie has provided invaluable support on the Tacoma Green project and has done numerous affordable housing projects on both the developer side and consulting with communities like the town. And we asked him to be on the committee because we knew that there was some LIHTC credits proposed for the over 55 development, and Bernie has a great understanding and knowledge of that whole process and getting those tax credits. And Christy and I both thought it would be really valuable to have him helping evaluate this proposal, given what they were proposing and the scale of what they're requesting. Just so everybody kind of understands Bernie's background a little bit.
I'm blushing, Ryan.
Uh,
Thanks. No, anyway, but I'll mention a couple of things because I think just I can give a little bit of an overall. As noticed, we noted they provided two different proposals, um, and they come out with very different outcomes, different funding amounts, and so I think we just part of, in addition to the detail itself, we need to understand the assumptions that they have under those two proposals. Why are they different? What does it mean? And what may be the pros and cons of those? That's kind of that's an overall sort of a thing of, in order to evaluate this thing and so that we make sure we understand it. But yeah, I'll go into more detail when I send you the information, but we want to just understand all of the calculations of the number of units that are workforce, the number of units that are LIHTC on each of those proposals, the amount of revenue, the expenses, so that we can understand how they're calculating the debt, how they come up with the NOI. Um, they talk about, the use of workforce subsidy, which, as we know right now, there's not, mass housing doesn't have that current workforce subsidy, but we hope that there'll be, more in the future. So it'll be those kinds of questions, just walking through what happens if there isn't this workforce subsidy or they can't get enough of it. And then I did compare the costs, their development and construction costs to Tacoma Greens, both on a per unit and a per square foot basis. And obviously, they're different projects. But it's just some feedback on that because this particular project has a really an extensive and expensive level of sustainability, energy efficiency, stormwater mitigation, passive house, net zero, all positives, all what the town wants, but it's very different than Tacoma. And it would be those particular issues, of course, would add additional expense. There may be other places where they save. So we need a little bit more detail in terms of that. So those are the
Okay,
kind of things I'm sort of focused on.
okay. Dawn, you had your hand up. I think you may have had a question or,
I mean, I was just thinking more in terms, I think the financials are extremely important and we do need more information. Some of the design, I don't understand on Nantucket why we would build any buildings without full basements. And that's part of the proposal. I also didn't quite understand why they were building. I mean, they say that it's to fit in better with the neighborhood. The one story units on Bartlett, I think, is a kind of a misuse of available space by not having any second floor. So those were just kind of things that jumped out at me in terms of the designs. I also thought some of the units were a little bit lacking on bathrooms. I started to make some of these notes in my evaluation, but I haven't finished it yet. But I think that the designs could be improved for better functionality for year-round living. And to maximize what's available for space.
Okay. Which I think, when we're going through every criteria, we can also kind of raise those issues or concerns with them and ask them to, I think, to your point, I think the basements, we were the board, the select board, I don't want to speak for them, but they were pretty adamant about Tacoma Green having them, to the point we paid to have them put back in after they had removed them as a cost cutting or cost saving measure, I should say. So
Yeah, correct.
those are all good points, and those are things that we can address when we have the next evaluation and go through all of it and make those observations. And we can probably also, what we could do is we can send a list of expected questions or ops we have them, so that they can be prepared to address them as we go through it as well. Tracy.
Hi. I had questions surrounding the over 55 and what criteria there are around, do they have to have like accessibility requirements and things like that would increase construction costs, and how that balances with the the tax credits and financial part of it as well.
Okay.
I know for particularly for Wiggles Way, those two accessible units had a huge impact, I'm sure, on the construction costs and then the overall design of the remaining lots, within the configuration. So because they have to have wider doorways and bigger bathrooms and all those kind of things.
Okay. Anyone else?
Brian, I would just ask if you could send,
yep.
when Bernie sends his questions to you, if you could just maybe forward them.
No, I'll forward any questions that anybody sends to me to ask, I'll forward to everybody, or Bernie has the complete email chain, so he can send a copy of his to everybody as well. But we'll make sure that everybody has those questions that we send off. Okay, so I know that not everybody has started it. Some people have started it and are complete. So I think the next most important thing is to kind of identify when we would like to have the next meeting, which will be to start to dive into the evaluative criteria and start the evaluation process. So I noticed that, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people who are listed as complete right now. So for those of us who haven't started, myself included, or as a group, when do we want to meet next? What works for everybody? Because I know we're getting into year end and it's going to be busy for everybody, and especially culture and tourism, as we have more and more events starting and going. So I know that's pretty busy. So what's everybody's schedule, or when does everybody think we should meet? A couple weeks, or?
When are we looking to award it by, and could we work backwards from there?
Well, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I think we said sometime in July or August, I think, Christy, to be honest with you. I can look and send that. I didn't actually come prepared with that. I'm sorry. See if I can find it in here. Responses or project documents.
Could we
Requests.
meet that first week of June sometime?
That's what I was going to suggest as well.
Yeah, I'm going away for a week and I'm back on the 26th. So either end of that week or
Did you say third week of
June 1st week?
okay.
First week of June.
First
Or
week,
second
okay.
week. Depend. Well, I would say probably first week if we're looking to award by July.
Well, the funny thing is, I just looked at the proposal and I don't think there's any possibility we can have this awarded by June 12th.
I would guess not. Yeah.
So I don't know if we changed the award date, but the response due date was changed in the addenda, I think. So I think if we have a recommendation to the select board to enter into the LDA and everything by sometime in July, I think that's reasonable.
Brian, I do have a trip, for beginning to the middle of June. So it's gonna be a little difficult with respect to that, but why don't we figure out what works for everybody? And, we'll work with it and somehow figure out how to keep my.
When are you gone, Bernie?
So I leave June 1st and I'm not back until the 17th. It's a long planned trip. I could,
Well, that's fine. I mean, that would give
May
everybody a
29th.
month.
What I mean,
What?
May 29th, that's 2 weeks from today.
That's fine. I don't think we're gonna finish the full evaluation in discussion in one meeting anyway. So could everybody who hasn't started, myself included, have a preliminary run through of it all by the 29th, and we could do a meeting that day?
I can do anything, Brian. I'm here, so any day that works for the group, it works for me.
Okay. So let's say is 11:30 okay on the 29th?
Oh, I can't do 11:30 though.
yes, for me.
No for me,
Okay.
but
What's an
12 does. I have an 11 to 12 o'clock meeting.
Okay, so does 12:30 on the 29th work for everyone?
Yes.
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 Okay.
Okay,
So I will set up a Zoom. I will also notify the respondent that the first pass at the evaluations we will schedule. It'll be fully remote is on May 29th at 12:30, and I will get the meeting warned and take care of all of that. And Bernie, if you send me the questions, if anyone else has any questions from the evaluation, if you just want to send them around to everybody just so people see them, and then I will forward everything off to the respondent, either myself or Christy, actually. And we'll let them know that that's the first planned date, and we will ask to have as much of the financial or any other questions in advance of that date, so we can incorporate those answers into our discussion.
Right. Yeah. Even if some of it's piecemeal, if they
Yeah.
don't have all the answers, they got to get us as much as they can. Yeah, that will help.
Okay, I think that's it for this meeting and discussion. Again, I mean, anybody who hasn't completed it can certainly go back in and take another review at it. I don't think it locks you out of it after that, and the rest of us who haven't, we've got some work to do before the 29th.
Great.
Thank you.
I guess we will, I guess we probably should have a motion to adjourn,
Motion
just
to
so that we're
adjourn.
following this protocol. Second,
Second.
Christie,
Hi.
Chantal,
Aye.
Tracy.
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Don,
aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Bernie,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. That's unanimous, and we will see everybody on the 29th. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.